Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Mike Reilly. He's an independent financial advisor. Hi, Mike.
Hello, how are you, Jane?
Good. So one reason why I wanted Mike on the show was he was telling me about some interesting tools that he started using with his clients. He's moved from face-to-face interviews to now he's doing online workshops, which I know in the financial industry can cause some problems. So I'm just wondering, first of all, what are the tools that you're using with your financial advice that you're providing your clients?
So thanks for having me on, Jane. This is a real treat. It's nice to be able to see you, and I know we've done some interviews in the past. What I've been doing, and the COVID circumstances have allowed me to do some things I've been planning to do for a while. It's one of the things about the financial advice business is that it is somewhat restrictive in having to be with people and being only able to represent in your geographic area. But I've been wanting to provide advice to a greater audience. I think fiscal literacy is extremely important, is sorely lacking in our society, and there's really no time now that it could be more important. So the first thing I did was to set myself up with an online booking site so that people could go to a web page and actually select a time that was linked in with my Google Calendar and book that meeting. I'm using something called Book Like a Boss. And there's lots of good ones. This is the one that I found most functional for me. I'm actually able to set up different appointment types as well. So if you just want to have a 30-minute introductory chat with me, it books that. If you want to have an hour-long, a deeper dive into your financial position, if we want to do a review, if you want to just look at life insurance or just your investments or just education savings, you can select those different types, which made it really flexible. So people, if the barrier was, well, I don't want to start having to go through everything. I just want to talk about this one thing. Great, I've got that. And then what that does is it links in with Zoom, and I think most people are familiar with Zoom, and it automatically books a Zoom meeting. So you go in, you pick 4:30 on Wednesday. It goes in. I get a notification in my calendar. I don't have to go and start a login to do a Zoom. The message goes to the person. It's really simple.
Yeah. We're doing the same thing with Calendly with this, but it took me a few weeks to get it all set up, and we changed the provider that we're doing these seminars with. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one thing, and it's great because I get the notification on my phone that I've got a meeting, and it's taken a lot of, because I don't have an assistant, so it's taken a lot of that time away from me. And then the next thing I did was to start producing the webinars, because I can't put people in a room anymore, but I still want to be able to discuss what I do. And for that, I'm using a platform called Webinar Jam. And it's very simple. My good friend Joe Gerard helped me to walk through the first time. He's got a Facebook group for small business technology, which I would maybe you can link to later.
Why don't you tell me?
Sorry?
Tell me what it
is. So it's a Facebook group where small business owners are sharing their technology. So if somebody wants to know about what should I use for podcasts, what do I use for presenting slideware, there's a community there that we can have those sorts of discussions. So it's brand new to me.
Do you know the?
Yeah, it's if I can just get it here, it's small business. Quickly. We got some dead air now.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I run a similar thing for people wanting to get into real estate podcasting. So I'm just kind of curious because, there's lots of ideas out there, and sometimes I don't have the best ones. So if I can people?
It's called Simple Systems for Small Businesses. I'll
Okay.
put the link. I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay, great.
I'm getting pretty tech savvy here. There. So, and thanks to, it would have taken me probably twice as long to do it on my own if Joe hadn't sort of held my hand over the internet and
Yeah.
walked me through it. So I set my first webinar up last week, which was Gaining Altitude, which is my own financial planning methodology that I use with young families. And we did a test run on Wednesday with a small audience, and then I launched it to the great wide world on Friday. And it's, as soon as I did, it's like anything, as soon as you do it once, all kinds of other opportunities
Like this.
arise. And I thought, yeah, like this. And I thought, well, why don't I do one on all the COVID programs? So I'm doing that this afternoon after we have our chat. And I can just keep repeating them over and over again, throw new ones in. It really is flexible. And then at the end of the webinar, there's a link there where people can book a 30-minute chat with me. So they click on the button and it goes back to the Book Like a Boss site, opens a Zoom meeting, and it's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So where can people find that information actually?
What I just described?
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the best would be on that Facebook group.
Okay.
So you just join in and say, I'm a real estate professional or a mortgage broker or something, whatever your profession is, and I'm interested in getting onto online booking and webinars as described by Mike Reilly, and we'll be able to help.
Okay, but where did you find out about the seminar that you're doing?
Oh, the webinar?
The webinar.
So let's see, how do you find out about that? So that I'm posting that on my Facebook right now, which is my wealth health site. And the next thing that I haven't quite done, which maybe the next time we talk, is actually getting us a whole funnel of email marketing, so that my contacts are getting a general notification of upcoming webinars. So
Right.
that's part 3 of the new iterations.
And I think it's important for people to kind of realize that, am I on 2 different Facebook things? There's a bit of an echo.
Nope, I only have this one browser open.
Okay. So the thing to realize, that Mike is really illustrating very well here, is that baby steps.
Yeah, just get started. And you don't have to have a whole full-blown program. I don't think, well, I need a 7-part sales process for how to sell your home. Just do one. Just 1/2 hour on one topic, and you're not doing it for that first one. You're doing it for the 5th or 6th one, because they're going to have some bugs, and you're going to forget to put your slideshow in or to click on the chats.
And
But that's okay.
You can make this content evergreen, so you can put it on your website. You can edit it. You can take the good parts and get rid of the bad parts. I think that's one thing that's very forgiving about this kind of technology.
Oh, absolutely. And if someone registers for the webinar but then doesn't attend, they still get an email afterwards that says, "Hey, you missed the webinar. Here you can see the live recording." Or people who did attend can also do that. So you do the work once, and it's still there available.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What funding is there? What funding assistance is there for people like so I'm thinking small businesses right now during COVID.
So the small business is a challenge. Both levels of government have, I've got to give them credit. They've moved really fast, but they've been able to define the wage subsidy, the credit, the rental relief, deferring taxes, all those other things, which work really well for a bricks and mortar, like a tire store or a flower shop.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are self-employed, solopreneurs, maybe don't have staff, it is really challenging, especially if you're as a sole proprietor, you don't have a separate business account. So right there, it knocks out you being able to apply for the $40,000 of credit financing.
Yeah.
So the Canada Emergency Relief Benefit, which is the $500 per week, they have changed last week so that it now is available for self-employed individuals whose income has been reduced, but you have to be able to demonstrate that it was reduced in those particular periods. So, for those of you and I, probably the same, you may not get commission each week, but then you get a good commission in 1 week. So you're going to have to be careful that when you are, it's not going to affect your taxes down the road. So maybe for a 4-week period, you do qualify with the less than $1,000. But then one of the weeks you don't. So making sure that you're not, you have to claim that money during that time.
For me, I applied for a CERB that was, I had to make over a certain amount and then have an employee. So I was able to keep her on, which was really helpful.
Okay. Yeah, and if you do have staff, the work sharing is a really good program too. So that's if you have employees that are willing to split work between them and use the EI benefit. Normally that's only 36 weeks, but 38 weeks. But now their government's going to extend its eligibility for 76 weeks, so you can keep people at least employed a little bit for a longer period.
Yeah, sense to me. I find like when this first started happening, my thought was, okay, well, you just have to go back to the basics. Where is the cash flow coming from? What do we absolutely need to pay?
Mm-hmm.
And how is the government going to solve that problem? I think they've been, like, when I look at my American friends, my heart breaks because I think they really have a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have mismanaged that in the United States any worse than it has been. And I'm not saying that with a partisan bent. It is going to be a huge financial disaster.
Yeah. Which is ironic.
And the other thing I'd say too, that there are, of course, the taxes have been, you don't have to submit until June now. You don't have to pay until the end of August. If you are running a business, you don't have to remit some of the things that you're collecting, like the EHT or PST or the gasoline tax. You will have to do that at some point, so you can't keep the money, but at least it gives people a little bit more cash in hand. Mm-hmm. And then I always tell people it doesn't hurt to ask. If it's a challenge paying bills, talk to the providers of your services and see if you can get a delay on things, or a forgiveness, or a reduction of interest.
Yeah,
the worst you can say is no.
All your costs start eliminating everything. Like we have a dual listing program, and I'm like, I don't need that. It's $50 a month. I don't need that.
Yep.
Fat.
Yeah.
Okay. So, go ahead. Do you want to say something else?
Well, and that speaks to individuals too. So clients that I have, that I kind of focus in the young family market, and they really do have an impact right now, especially if they're not earning income. So it's a great opportunity for people to really look at their expenses and say, are these things that are necessary, and can we do without them right now? And on the other hand, I have people who they're no longer spending money at the bar or at restaurants or having coffees, and they suddenly have an extra $60 every week that they didn't have before.
Yeah, I used to, after rowing every morning, we would buy breakfast, and it was like $9 for two of us.
Yeah.
Which is not expensive, but that's a lot of money over the course. That's $200 over the course of a whole month. So
sure.
I did our household budget for the first time in 7 years, because I was like, okay, I'm really gonna dial it in here. Okay, so what are the first three best things for people to do with their finances right now during the pandemic?
Well, what's interesting about that is they're basically the same three things that I would tell people anyway. Just because we're in lockdown now, it hasn't really changed, but it does make them more important. So the first is that it is making sure that you've got a will and a power of attorney and a health directive, and if you do have them, that they're up to date. It is probably the most important financial tool that any family or individual can have. I know people don't like to talk about it, but I have seen, and you probably have as well, just the disaster that happens when someone dies or becomes incapacitated without these. It's a huge financial toll and a great emotional strain on families. So, again, talking to young families or even individuals who don't have children would think, well, why do I need to have a will? Because I don't own anything and nobody's counting on me. It may be true that your death, while a great sadness, is not a financial tragedy. But the other parts are extremely important, which is the power of attorney and the health directive. So these are two instruments that speak for you if you cannot speak for yourself. So you're still alive, but it allows someone to make financial decisions for you. So think of a situation where someone's been in a terrible car accident and they're intubated and they're in a chemically induced coma. Making sure that somebody can make sure that your rent is paid or your mortgage is paid and your car insurance is paid and all those things, so that when you do recover, you don't have to clean up the mess from that.
Yeah, and
Um,
also make sure it's actually representing where your heart is right now, because sometimes that changes, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And don't and not just the things that the bills that you pay, but some of your other online presence too. You loyalty and rewards cards and all the other things that exist only in a digital format that no one would know how to get a hold to manage if you didn't provide specific instruction.
Hmm.
And then the health directive is one where someone can make health decisions for you. It doesn't have to be the same person as the power of attorney, but indicating what types of treatment you will have and what ones you refuse. So again, you're not in a position to say, no, I don't want this or I do want that. Make sure that it's clear. I do have a one-page will, power of attorney, and health directive letter of intent that I provide to clients at no charge. It's not in it. It isn't a legal document, but you at least put everything down on one page so that when you do go to a notary or a lawyer at some point, that you've sort of saved some time by thinking it through first.
Yeah. Beverly Carter of Carter Notary has been doing a lot of wills. We talked about that because of people were afraid. And I find, I asked her once, when's the best time for someone to have a will? She said, as soon as you own property and as soon as you have kids.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah. And it's not clear. The people think, oh well, we're married, so everything just comes to me if he or she dies, and I get the kids, and it's not always that cut and dry.
especially if you have kids and you don't have um, your will set out who's going to get the kids.
Hmm.
Or maybe if you have a health directive, what's the other word for health directive? Living will.
Or a health representation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so important. Oh, I
Yeah.
fi- do you find, so are you finding your clients stressed right now?
My clients aren't stressed. People that aren't my clients are stressed. How about that? Yeah, the first thing I did when this all came about, and especially when the market started to be volatile, was call and just say, "Hey, we've got the markets are starting to decline, and some days it was significant. Do you have any concerns? Has anything changed in your plan?" And because of the process that I use, most clients were aware that volatility was built into to gains in the marketplace. So as long as they had 10, 15, 20 years for their retirement savings to recover, they're fine. And then people who were needing the money in a year or 2 years because they were making a down payment for a home, for example, that money wasn't exposed, so they were fine too.
So are you still involved with the Western Chamber of Commerce?
I am still on the board and I'm still the president.
How is that going for your members?
Um, I think we've been able to demonstrate that the real value that we have in advocacy, because we've been able to speak on behalf of business owners with the provincial government to continue to push for the things that they're announcing now, like the wage, the rental reduction. That was one that we joined in with the Canadian Chamber to advocate for. It's a hard time for members. We've got some who may not survive, some who are not paying their membership that we're going to allow to pay when they get back on their feet. And then we were very early on, our director, Julie Lawler, decided, because we couldn't hold our mixers anymore, to move to a weekly Zoom coffee meeting so these people can continue to share their stories.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, are you finding that there's a factor that's allowing businesses to adapt and succeed in this compared to those who can't? Because that's really what this show is about, is highlighting people who are adapting successfully. What do you think is the key to changing, to thrive during this pandemic?
Well, there's two things I think that make a big difference. One is being positive. If your outlook is that it's going to work out, you're much more likely to be willing to make changes. And the second is a willingness to learn. So while this isn't the way we've always done business, we're going to learn a brand new way to do business. That being said, it is a real challenge for people who are service providers. That is, they hair salons and nails and massage therapy. It's very difficult for them to offer online services that way.
Yeah.
But we've been encouraging them to think of continue to show value, even if you can't make any money right now. Get out on the social media and your website and just continue to give value through suggestions. So, if you're a massage therapist, here's the 3 best core exercises you can do while watching Netflix. Or if you're a nail salon, ways to take care of your hands during COVID, so that when we do see you again, we're going to be able to take care.
Hold on.
You're still on your feet? Yeah. Yeah.
My hands up.
And the other another thing for people to consider too. So we're talking about the 3 best things to do for finances. You remember when I was saying that people they seem to have a little bit more cash because they're not spending.
Right.
I always tell people during the very first meeting we ever have is that the biggest difference between wealthy people and people who struggle is having 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside for emergencies or opportunities, because you never know when you might be out of work for 3 to 6 months. And people will say, "Oh, I'll never be out of work for 3 months. I can always do something." It's like, hey, guess what? It's a pandemic and you're not working. So if you do have extra cash now, start that habit of putting a little bit aside every week. So if you've got $60 or $20, doesn't matter. Set up a sub account and start to put it in there. And when things get back to normal, you've already built that habit of being able to save money. And then it becomes easier to save more money.
Yeah. I find for me, the biggest sort of unexpected expense, honestly, is food right now. Everything else is going according to plan, but my kids can pile it away. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the post-dinner dinner.
the post dinner, I'm like, studies have found that if you fast, your immune system is boosted.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard because they sleep until 2 or 3, and then they get up and they start eating for the rest of the afternoon and evening.
Yeah, my husband we were all sitting around the table last night. We were talking about, what's hard. And I said, although it's nice having quiet time in the morning, I find it really hard that you just don't get out of bed when I tell you. Like I at 10:30, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's fine. I've had an hour and a half to 2 hours by myself. Now it's time to start. We give them a chore every day, so they're
Right.
focused.
Yeah.
And they're cleaning the kitchen and they're doing some work for Chris virtually, and I'll have my
Okay.
son do some work, and we'll just pay them a little bit. But yeah, uh, anyway, that and so what we've tried to figure out is what are the rewards. So for my daughter, it is being um, buying some nail stuff. So she did my nails last night. And
Right.
for my son, it's been getting online. So you got to figure out what it is that motivates your kids. But one thing I would suggest for you, maybe,
Yes.
or any financial advisor, is we really need a financial literacy for teenagers, so they
Hmm.
start having good habits now.
Oh, absolutely. Um, that's one of the reasons why I'm active with Junior Achievement. So we have a program in the high schools this year called financial financial planning, and it's terrific. And it just really starts to talk to them about goal setting, the basics of savings, how credit works, what it's going to take to move out on your own. Um,
Sounds
and
great.
yeah, yeah, no, you'd be an excellent delivery person given your education experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you like, I'll
I
connect
don't
you.
know if you knew this, but I taught entrepreneurship at Edward Milne in Souk.
Okay,
And
I
I
believe it.
I tried to get the banks to talk to our grade 12 students about financial literacy, and
Hmm.
they were like, we don't have a program. And I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity here. Somebody is going to go out on their own next year, you know.
Yeah,
But it was very short-sighted.
no,
So
I agree.
okay.
Um, and the last thing, because I know we're going to wrap up here in a sec, is the third thing is insurance. So life insurance, critical illness, disability. If you make sure your beneficiaries are up to date, if you have those things, if you don't have them, now is a great time to apply because due to the pandemic, insurance companies have abandoned the requirement in most cases for paramedicals. So no blood, no urine, no ECGs, no nurse visits you. It can all be done online in about 15 to 20 minutes and issued right on the spot. And right, but the other side is that we expect rates are going to go up um, very soon because there's more risk that the insurance companies have to take on now because of COVID. So if you've been thinking about getting any of those insurance solutions, now is the time.
Okay. So what's your phone number?
My phone number, 250
Mm-hmm.
516
Mm-hmm.
5758. And it's there. In
Seven. What was the 250?
57, no, no, it's 250 516 5758.
Okay. All right. So if you want to get in touch with Mike, you can give him a call, 250-516-5758. If you want to talk to me about what's happening in real estate, my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Stay tuned for our show all week. Tomorrow we're going to be talking with Laurel Dietz and a few other people about parenting, co-parenting, separation, and divorce, because it's an issue right now. People are under stress. On Wednesday, we will be talking with some small business owners, and then throughout the week, we have lots of interesting people coming up. So if you want to tune in every day, we'd appreciate seeing you. And if you have questions, we now have the ability to deal with those questions live. So we'd love to hear from you. All right, everybody. Oh, and you have okay.
My website is Your Financial Pilot. Your Financial Pilot. You Financial Pilot.
Okay.
Your My Pilot.
I'll put it in here.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at 4:30. Take care.
Bye-bye.
For coming.